to see my face. If you want to chop it up, you can see me. So good morning, grand rising to you and also you here on YouTube and LinkedIn. And of course, my favorite family in the world, Clubhouse. Clubhouse is an app I have been using for about a year and a half, and I absolutely love it. And I just feel it's so authentic. So we are here Monday through Thursday. You are in the Fit, Healthy, and Blessed Club. This is a club that has rooms 5 to 6 days a week, depending on what you're looking for. We have an amazing room on Saturdays. Quinn Cynthia, help me out. What's the name of the room on Saturday? I know I should know it. Mental awareness. Help me out. What's it called? I didn't hear you.
I'm about to go check the name now.
No, just the name of the space, not the J, just the name of the room.
Oh, the name of the, oh, my mind went blank. Mental Health Awakening.
Yes, Mental Health Awakenings. This is a room that we run on Saturdays. When I say it is epic, guys, it's low key. I think it's deeper than these weekly rooms. But anyway, it's Saturdays at 11 a.m. So if you're around, jump in. But here Monday through Thursday, our goal is to bring you all sorts of motivation, guys. This is the 8 a.m. cup of motivation. I don't have my cup today, my cup of tea. I've got my water here from teaching classes, and I'm feeling really good. We're going to motivate each other, and I like to kick the doors in about 7:55. I was a little late kicking them in today, but we still had that motivation, and he reminded me of my boy, Eric Thomas. I don't know about you guys, but I love seeing motivational speakers. I love being close to them. I love feeling their energy. It's like, I need that big energy. So I saw Eric Thomas twice, and let me tell you, it was huge, beautiful energy. So motivation is wonderful. It's great, but it doesn't always last that long. And for me, what I need to do is I need to surround myself with people that are going to keep me accountable. But it's also that inspiration. What inspires you to be better? What inspires you to get out of bed? What inspires you to go out for that walk when it's a little cold outside? Because we all need that, right? So we're going to motivate you when you come into this space. We're going to inspire you. And then lastly, we're going to give you the tools and the skills and the strategies to make all your dreams come true. Whether it's finances, fitness, nutrition, mindset, motivation, that's what you're going to get when you come into this space. So let's just begin by sharing the room out in the hallways. I'm feeling supercharged about today's topic. It's all wrapped around the book, Set Boundaries, Find Peace. I'm not sure if you've read this book before. It's a guide to reclaiming yourself by Nedra Glover Tawwab. Amazing book, and I just felt that I need a little more strength today, a little more focus. So again, if you click the link at the top, you will see me on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the YouTube, and we're gonna just kick the doors in right away. We like to have a fit tip of the day to get the conversation started. Welcome everyone that's here. Aretha and Soul, thank you for coming through. Don't forget, it looks like we have 3 shares, guys. Thank you for the shares, but there's 6 of us in here. So if we all just give another share, that'll get it out in the hallways. That'll get us some more love in these Clubhouse streets, because there's all sorts of stuff going on. And I don't know about you guys, but it is so not discouraging. At first it was, when I'm like, oh, the numbers are low, but it's all about the quality, right? When I'm teaching classes, for some reason, I'd like a little smaller class. For example, I taught a spin class yesterday, and we just got so deep into integrity, into the form, into getting down to the basics. And that's what today is all about. So with that being said, Quinn Cynthia, are you ready for our fit tip of the day to start the conversation, mama? If so, unmic.
I am ready. Okay. Our fit tip of the day is we're going to talk about eating fatty fish. And the reason why we have to eat the fatty fish, because it's good in high quality protein. Excuse me, guys. It's good in high quality protein. It helps with inflammation in your body. It helps you maintain your weight. It's good for you all the way around. And if you want to know more about, I'm posting. Make sure you join our IG page, our Instagram page, because on there I'll be posting detail of each fit tip of the day, and you can read up on it and then do some research for yourself to realize what fatty fish would be good for you and your health. So this is Cynthia. That's my fifth tip of the day.
Thank you so much, Kren. And I would just want to add a little bit to that right there, guys. When it comes to eating, I stopped eating red meat probably about 10 years ago. Slowly wean yourself off of certain things and just stop it out. For example, red meat can be kind of harsh on your body. So, depending on the type of diet that you have, and we have keto people in the world, vegetarian, it just depends on what you enjoy most. But that was our fit tip of the day. Thank you. Guys, we're going to jump right into today's topic because it is pretty deep. And again, if you don't have the book, if you've never seen it, it's called Set Boundaries, Find Peace, a guide to reclaiming yourself. And there's 6 different types of boundaries that we're going to talk about today. I would love to have this as an open discussion. So if you want to add your comments, your thoughts. But first, I want to welcome Shmiko, Aretha, Soul, Stacy Ann. Welcome to this space. You're going to be enlightened. You're going to learn so much today. Everyone out there in Facebook land, in LinkedIn land, and in YouTube land, thank you for coming through. So let's get started on this party. The 6 types of boundaries. Now, it is necessary and even vital to set standards for your life and the people you allow in it. And that comes from Mandy Hall. So let me say that one more time. It is necessary and even vital to set standards for your life and the people you allow in it. I would just love to hear, you can write in the chat from our moderators as well, if you are able to speak, because I know some people are. Setting standards. When I think of standards, I think the quality of life, the quality of something I'm doing. For example, my grandmother had extremely high values and standards and morals, and she just kind of poured that onto me to the point where I don't know if they even do this anymore. Remember back in the day, you had to wear a slip. She's like, you always have to wear stockings. You are not dressed unless you wear stockings. And they would iron everything. They even ironed underwear. Why would you iron underwear? I don't get it. But those standards just kind of drove into my mind with everything that I do. How are you showing up? Are you just rolling out of bed, throwing on anything and coming out into the world? Your standards when it comes to the people that you surround yourself with, are you keeping, making them accountable? Because sometimes people don't even realize what they're doing or how they're showing up, and you have to let them know, Well, it would be a little better if you put a little lip gloss on. And that's what I love about my tribe, guys. I have my girl, Kim. She teaches classes with me. I have an online fitness boutique studio, and I'm always going live. Instagram, you name it, I'm there. And she hit me up and she's like, girl, you cannot go on screen without putting some lip gloss on. Your lips are looking chapped. They're looking ashy. I was like, okay, thank you for sharing that. So it's important that the people that you surround yourself with keep you accountable. I'm going to check in the chat to see if anything wrote anything. Hello, Teresa. So what I stated is it's necessary and even vital to set standards for your life and the people you allow in it. I'm going to check in the chat, setting standards for your life. And with that, guys, you may have your ups, you may have your downs, but I remember years ago when it came to like the cars I would drive, the type of car. And I remember it got to a point in my life where I said, you know what? No more. I'm not going to have that struggle bus of praying and hoping that my car doesn't break down. It's like you're driving, it's like, oh, please make it to the next stop. No, that is ridiculous. Who wants to live like that? So I know Renee's not able to share. Cynthia, Ash, are you able to share your thoughts on the quote that I just mentioned? If so, on mic, I would love to hear your thoughts on the topic. And if not, go ahead.
May you repeat it again? I'm sorry.
Sure. So it's from a book. We're going to be talking about boundaries today. And the book is called Set Boundaries, Find Peace, a guide to reclaiming yourself. And the quote that I mentioned is, it is necessary and even vital to set standards for your life and the people you allow in it. And that's written by Mandy Hall. What are your thoughts on that, Ashley? Do you think it's important to set standards for yourself and the people around you?
Yeah, because if you don't set standards for yourself as a person, what I feel is like you still live in that clamshell, right? That clamshell. And I don't want to live in a clamshell. I want to live actually in the ocean, wide. Feel the world, feel the energy and things like that. And if you don't set those boundaries and you don't surround yourself around those people who don't have those same goals, you're gonna still find yourself in that closed shell all the time. Me, I'm like, no, I need to grow. I like to be free. I like to touch every single thing. I want to be around every single thing. And the only way I'm going to get there is if I have those people near me. So with that being said, my name is Ashley, and I'm out.
Ashley, thank you so much for saying that. I'm looking at what Aretha put, and I love this right here. She says, I dislike being around drunk people. I would love to hear her chat about this as to why. Like, is it because they're loud, they're obnoxious? I don't get it. You know, I've been drunk, I think I can say 2 times in my entire life. And for me, drunk is just passing out. But Aretha, share with us your thoughts on this right here. Would love to hear.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, girl, hey.
Good morning. It's because in my past, when my mom was going through her change of life, she used to drink. And I was the butt of her anger. So for me, it's a trigger. I don't like being around people that cannot remember what the hell you did. I'm sorry. If you are acting up really bad, and then the next morning you don't remember, but you've now ruined my get together. You know what I mean? Like, how dare you ruin things for everyone else in the room, and you don't even remember that. You can't even hold yourself accountable. So that's one of those things I cannot, even people that take drugs can remember what some of the things they've done. But listen, drunks black out. They don't remember jack. And I cannot tolerate being around them. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, girl, I am dying here laughing so much. I want to go on to a different type of conversation with this. We're talking about boundaries today, guys. And to get to that, Aretha, you said when your mom went through her change of life, she started drinking. Tony Robbins says this all the time. A high percentage of people in the world use some type of outside influence, alcohol, drugs, sex, food, to control their emotions because they feel out of control. And it's even deeper, like you said, with the alcohol. Someone that I know very close, she said to me, she's like, I think I'm an alcoholic. I'm like, you're not an alcoholic. And she's like, well, when I go out, I don't remember things the next day. And, people tell me things and I see pictures. So she started going to Alcohol Anonymous. And, she was just like, I don't want this life for myself. I don't remember myself. I am scared not to say scared, but I don't like drinking. And one of my biggest pet peeves, it pisses me the freak off when people do this to me. I don't like to drink. And some people like it and they're like, have a drink, taste this. For me, my father would have one beer. I don't know if my mother can even speak on this. And he would be and he was a big guy. He was, I don't know how tall he was, but he was like very heavy-handed, but he'd have one drink and he'd be all over the place. So I guess for me, that's one reason why I don't like drinking. It just scares me. And then when people try to say, oh, you should drink, it's not cool. Soul says, Miss Aretha, you would have hated me about 5 years ago. I love it. Soul is cool. I actually got to meet Soul, guys. I want to welcome everyone to the space. I see Catherine. I see Naksharta, beautiful name. I'm giving you all a follow. I am Stars Tina. I want to thank you for coming to the space today. I'm giving you all a follow. Everyone on stage, can we give these guys a follow? I see Serenak. I see Stacy Ann. Giving you all a follow and thank you for coming in here. Where are you? You're in the 8 a.m. Cup of Motivation. Hey there, Kim. Today we're talking about 6 boundaries. It's super important. The book that it comes from is Set Boundaries, Found Peace. The first one, if someone can write this in the chat for me, Physical Boundaries. And I'm just going to quote what's in this book because it's so good. I don't even want to paraphrase it. Physical boundaries and how can someone violate these? Physical abuse, obvious. Forcing a hug, forcing a kiss, forcing handshakes. Standing too close to someone, holding someone's hand in public when they've made it clear they're uncomfortable with public displays of affection, touching someone on their body in a way they deem inappropriate, reading someone's journal or another form of invasion of privacy. That's an example of physical boundaries. Now, some people have a hard time telling people things because they don't want to hurt their feelings, right? So some things you can say, and again, this coming from the book that I mentioned, to set physical boundaries, you can say something like, you know what, I'm more of a handshaker. I don't want to hug. You can be as nice as that or be as rude as my daughter. I don't like hugging. You know, that's my daughter. She's just like touching. If someone's too close to you, please move back a little. You know, just say the word please. Or you can say, I'm not comfortable with public displays of affection. I'd prefer it if we saved this until we got home. If you're in a relationship, you can also say, I've asked you not to rub my back. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Another thing you can say, these are my private writings. Please don't look at them because it violates me. These are different ways of how you can share with someone that they're crossing that boundary. And there's different types of people when it comes to boundaries. And porous, this is another part of the book. I don't have that in front of me, but you have that one person who has extremely strict boundaries. And this can be good and bad in the same way. For example, if this person says they're set in their ways, they're not changing it no matter what. It could be a family member and you're like, I need a place to stay. And they're like, no, you're not staying. That's a very, very strong boundary. And then you have that other person that's like a flip-flop fish. The names of these are in the beginning of the book. I can't remember. I'm going to call it flip-flop fish, where you have no boundaries at all. You just let people take advantage of you like you're in a boxing match. They're just punching you and swaying back and forth. That's not good. So you want to get into the middle ground when it comes to boundaries. Does anyone want to share their thoughts on physical boundaries? What you like to say? If so, on mic. If anyone wants to come up, as I mentioned, this is an open forum. I would love to hear your thoughts. Any thoughts on physical boundaries? If so, on mic. I see. Beautiful, beautiful. Nakshartra, would love to hear from you, hon. Just on mic, share your comment.
Hi everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's a good evening for me where I am.
Where are you?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Where are you?
I'm from India.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Where are you from? It's my first time in this room.
Oh, you're gonna love it. I'm actually from New Jersey, but I'm in North Carolina right now.
Oh wow. Okay. What time is it there?
It's 8:19. What time is it where you are? This is the 8 a.m. cup of motivation. What time is it where you are?
Yay! It's 6 o'clock in the evening for me. So if you were to be on the West Coast, then that's like 12-hour difference for me.
Gotcha. Are you loving the conversation? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm a narcissistic abuse recovery coach, so I often deal with people who have had, and I'm including myself, I used to have very poor boundaries. So, you know, it's really, really important, and I mean, to have physical boundaries, but also have psychological boundaries, because, you know, it's the psychological boundaries that get, crossed over first before physical boundaries, because people who, cross physical boundaries, they're always sort of observing the people that they're sort of, wanting to target. So I think it's important to have boundaries, all kinds of boundaries, because, why go through any kind of trauma for people who don't respect you? So thank you for organizing this room. I'm very passionate about, not going through trauma and taking care of yourself and mental health. So thank you, and thank you for inviting me on the stage. Thank you.
Yay. Thanks for the input you're going to have for the rest of the conversation. It's going to be a good one today. Soul, do you have any comments on physical boundaries? I know you're out running or doing some sort of exercise.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm by the water, so if you hear the wind, apologies in advance. Real quick, as far as physical boundaries, at least on my end, within my culture, it was always a thing that you had to hug or kiss the adults when they came around. If you went to a party, you physically had to kiss and hug everyone, and that's so uncomfortable. So now as an adult, I'm very aware of that, and when like my nieces or nephews or my friends' children come around, I ask permission. Hey, may I get a hug? And you know what I mean? Like, I respect their boundaries because I did not like how it made me feel when I was a child. And when meeting, like even when I met you for the first time, it was post-pandemic. I always like to ask for permission, like, hey, like I'm excited to meet you. Is it okay if I hug you? So I'm all about respecting physical boundaries. It's a must, especially with children. That is all for now. Thank you.
I love how you say that, and I never thought about it that way. I am that hugger, and especially for like my daughter or my niece. Like my daughter does not like it. My niece is just like her. I don't know if it's because they're Libras, and it just made me think, well, who are we giving the hug for? Is it for ourselves or is it for the person that we're giving? And now that I think about it, it's probably for me because I want to feel that love. I want to feel that affection instead of thinking about that person. So thank you so much for sharing that, Soul. I never thought about it that way before. If anyone else wants to share on the topic of physical boundaries, if so, unmic. If not, I'm going to...
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, just speak. It's fine.
Oh, yeah. It reminds me, I have the same things, and it's not even an issue because I respect her boundaries. My daughter and I are extremely close, but she does not like, and it's not me, anybody, she does not like to be touched on her shoulders or touched on the back of her neck. So most of the time when we are exchanging hugs, she will hold her head down, right? It's been this way for a very long time. Her head or her forehead, or give her a hug around her waist, right? Instead of it's just something that triggers her. So I respect that, and whatever it is, it means something to her. So I respect that boundary.
See, you're better than me, Renee. I would have a long conversation like, okay, what happened to you? Why are you there? But that's just something for you, to think about. That might be a conversation you want to have with her.
Yeah, we've had that.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. So the next one, sexual boundaries. Examples of sexual boundaries, not only sexual abuse, assault, or molestation, but it also could be comments about someone's sexual appearance. It could be touching in a sexual suggestive manner. It could also be by telling jokes in front of someone. And how can you say things or, to pretty much stop, that simple. But then I hate when people say, oh, well, stop. You're just playing. Stop means just, no, it doesn't. Stop means stop. I don't like it. I don't want it. Or you can say something like, your comment isn't funny. It's sexually inappropriate, because sometimes people really don't know that they're being offensive. You can also move their hand. Like if someone puts their hand on your leg or your shoulder and you don't like it, just kind of move it. You can also say, I'm not interested in a sexual relationship with you. Those are some ways of how you can do it. And I definitely suggest that you report, something like this. And I was watching something the other day, and this girl went on a date, and the guy was like trying to get her to go somewhere, and another guy broke up the situation, so it didn't happen. And then a couple days later, the girl is sitting on a bench, and another girl comes over to her, and she says, oh, how far did he get? And she said, oh, well, he didn't do anything. And she's like, well, you're lucky, because, she tells her situation, I guess, how he raped her. And the girl looks at her and she's like, thank you so much for supporting me. And what she meant by that was this girl, because the girl never said anything. She said, why didn't you share anything? She said she was scared. And she said, because if this girl who got raped by this person would have said something when it happened, then the new girl wouldn't have this current situation. So that's why it's super important to share. So that's sexual boundaries. Anyone, I'm going to check the chats. If you want to share your comments on that topic, just unmic and go for it. Would love to hear from you. Go ahead, Krin.
Yeah, it's important to set the boundaries, especially with stuff like that. People inappropriately touching you, and then also the story in the book about the person not saying anything. It would have helped the next person from not doing it. But you also got to put yourself in that person's shoes. Maybe she was scared to say something. Maybe something happened prior that she wasn't able to speak. Sometimes that type of abuse or like that, it puts you in a space. And if you're not feeling comfortable, if it happened to you before and nothing was done about it, you're going to be you're gonna put yourself in a place where, should I say something? Will it get done? You know, so it you can't really blame it on the person that didn't say anything because they may have their reason why. So that type of subject is a real sensitive topic. So that's what I have to say.
So sensitive. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, guys, moving on to tip number 3. And I see Faza wants to come up here. Pulling you up here, Faza. Thank you for coming into the space. I'm giving him a follow. Now, as I'm looking at this next boundary, which is intellectual boundaries, I feel kind of, I read this book, but for some reason I don't remember this topic. And it makes me think I'm a horrible person, but I'm not a horrible person. I'm just learning, right? So today we're talking about boundaries. It's from the book Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Glover. The first boundary we spoke about was physical boundaries. The second one was sexual. Now we're talking about intellectual boundaries, and an example of an intellectual boundary: calling someone names for their beliefs or opinions, yelling during disagreements, ridiculing someone for their views and thoughts, dismissing someone because of disagreements, demeaning a child's mother, father in front of a child, telling children about problems they aren't emotionally capable of handling. Woo! Guys, when I read these, I was like, oh my gosh, are they talking to me? I feel so horrible. So how can you set some intellectual boundaries? I have to actually work on not doing those things. But if someone is doing these things to you, you can say things like, you can disagree without being mean or rude. And I need to take that in, because if I disagree with you, I don't know if it's the Scorpio in me, but I'm going hard. It's like, I'm screaming. I want you to hear me. So I can disagree without being mean or rude. Whew, I needed that one. Another thing you can do: I don't think this is an appropriate conversation to have with a child. And I know I sometimes do this with my daughter, even though she's a grown adult. But also ask permission, guys. When you're having conversation, ask that person, do they have space to speak about this? Do they have space? And I do that a lot with my daughter. One, because she lives, like Nakshara was saying, she lives in California, and they're 3 hours ahead. And she says, Mom, you wake me up in the morning with these deep conversations. So ask the person first before you have the conversation. Do you have space to talk about this? Another thing you can say is, I won't talk to you if you keep raising your voice. I like that one. That was a mean joke. I'm offended. Another one you can say is, I just said something and you dismissed me. Why? I do that a lot. I dismiss people a lot. Whew, I need to read this one a few times. What are your thoughts on that? Would love to hear if anyone has anything to say about intellectual boundaries. If so, raise your hand. Come on up. Would love to hear your thoughts. Anyone? Welcome, Lenny, Catherine. Oh, I see someone raise their hand. Who is that? Faza, if it's not letting you come up, usually what we say is to go out the room and then come back in. If you're not able to come up, that sometimes helps. All right. If no one has anything to say about intellectual boundaries, no one does this. I'm the only person in the room that does this. I hear someone.
Well,
Aretha, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Renee.
No, I was just gonna say one strategy. Like, if you disagree with someone and you're feeling like you're about to say something that might be taken the wrong way, one strategy that you can use, and that I've used, is, I understand and hear what you're saying, but have you considered, and then say whatever it is that you would like to.
Ooh, I said that again. Now this time say it with a little more enthusiasm so I can really get it, because that was a good one. I got to write that one down. I might 30-second that one. Go ahead.
I really respect and hear what you're having to say, but have you considered, and then you say whatever you believe.
And this is a good thing to say when you're having a disagreement with someone and you're very upset and you want them to see another part of the conversation. Is that correct?
Correct. And I also agree with what you were saying about the raising. Sometimes this is a different when people tend to raise their voice, they
sometimes people think they're not yelling for people, but it is perceived as yelling, and it's not what they're saying, it's the tone and the pitch and the vibration of how they're saying it. So another strategy is I really want to focus in on what you have to say. Can you bring it down a little bit? And you start not whispering, like almost like when they can't hear you, but you purposely lower your voice, and it almost will instinctively cause them to lower theirs.
Wow, this is deep, guys. Another thing you can do is touch the person. We were talking about this the other day. If you're having an argument with someone, just put your hand on their shoulder or somewhere on their hand just to kind of like calm them down. Aretha, would love to hear your thoughts on this. Hey, Mary Kim, welcome. Aretha, let's hear what you have to say, Mama.
She answered my question because I feel that, especially to my son's girlfriend. So she answered my question.
I didn't hear the first part you said. What was it?
I said she answered my question. I have issues with my son's girlfriend, which is my grandchildren's mother. And we totally don't get along, and it's causing problems. But she answered my question by saying, just repeating what the person said and just kind of lowering my voice. If I ever again.
Yes, I get it. And you know what I think we do sometimes too, Aretha, is they're younger, they're kids, so we feel that they're naive, they don't know what they're talking about. You're not that you're stupid, but it's like you're a kid. So as an adult, especially, I don't know if you're over 50 or 50 like me, I feel at this point in my life, I know a lot. I've learned a lot. I've learned from my mistakes. So the younger generation sometimes have this I know it all sort of mentality, and they don't even want to listen to you. So things that she said can also help with that relationship with her. And another thing I invite you to do is just look at it from her end. I remember my son's girlfriend. It's just, for me, I'm not saying I was jealous of her, Aretha. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he wanted to spend more time with her, how many arguments we had, because I was like, you spend more time at her house than with me. And it could be a little jealousy in there both ways. So just different ways for you to talk about it. Guys, today we're talking about setting boundaries to find peace in your life. And I love this topic right here. If anyone wants to go a little bit deeper on this conversation, I'm going to check in the chats. We're talking about intellectual. I heard someone unmiking. Go for it.
It was me. Good morning. It's Mary Kim. I know I popped in when Renee was sharing. I'd like to add something I heard when you're having a discussion or situation where you're talking and it could get a little loud. They suggest sitting down. So if someone is sitting down and I'm standing up, it sounds like I'm overpowering them and I'm like hovering over them, like I'm greater. And so the tool was like, sit down, be eye level with the person. And not only does that diminish that sense of someone being more powerful than you or demanding your attention, you're also at each other's eye level, which automatically as humans just calms your body down. I'm Italian, so if I'm standing up talking to someone, I'm definitely moving my arms, and if I'm discussing something, it's getting a little loud because I really have a hard time talking low when I'm passionate about something. So all that will diminish when you sit down and you're at eye level. So that's just another tip that I wanted to share.
Thank you. Another thing they say is mirroring. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. When you're speaking, your tone, the way you're moving your body, like she said. Nakshara, would you like to share your thoughts on intellectual boundary? How is it in India? Is it easy with this? Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not an engineer or doctor, then I don't know how many boundaries can you assert there, intellectually speaking. But first of all, you didn't just say that you're 50, did you?
Yes, I'm turning 50 next month.
No, I don't believe you. You're lying. You're absolutely. Intellectual boundaries. It might not be applicable to everyone, so I'm just gonna state from my perspective, like if someone is trying to just continue to degrade you and gaslight you, then I think then it's also one option could be just stating that that's, hey, that's your opinion and maybe we could talk about it later. Because some people who have dark traits, they might actually be trying to instigate a reaction from you, which is called reactive abuse. So just don't try to, if you don't know that person enough, or you, for example, if you just start dating someone and they just go on and start degrading you in various ways, not just intellectually, you have to step back a little bit and just consider what they're trying to do. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. This conversation is really digging deep. If anyone else wants to add, I see Renee blinking. Anyone else wants to dig in on the conversation? We're talking about intellectual boundaries, and this refers to your thoughts and ideas. Of course, we're all free to have our own opinion about anything you want. And when you express your opinion, your words shouldn't be dismissed, belittled, or ridiculed. And something Mary Kim said was in the tone of your voice. And I'm really good at, I can't hide how I'm feeling. So my tone will just definitely go there. Stacey Ann, did you come up to share on the conversation? If so, you can unmic and share your thoughts on the topic. I'm not sure if you had anything.
Tina,
Yes.
Tina, I would like to reset the
Yes,
room
let
real
us finish.
quick.
Let us finish this conversation real quick, then we can do the reset. All right, Mama? Thank you. All right, Naksharata, you're so kind. Me and Mary Kim are birthday twins, actually. We're having birthdays next month. Intellectual boundaries. Anyone else want to share on that? Amanda, I see you down there. Will? All righty. I think no one else has anything to say. If so, unmic. All right. Okay, now you can go ahead and reset, Renee. I just like to complete one topic before we go on. Go ahead, Mama.
No worries. All right, everybody, I am resetting the room. Please go out and share this. We're at 9 shares right now, and there are 14 of us in here right now, so if we could get that would be amazing. I want to remind you all that you are in the Fit, Healthy, and Blessed Club, and today we are talking about the 6 types of boundaries, and are you living your best life? What we would like you to do, if you haven't already done so, is go up and click the little green mansion at the top and give Club a follow. And also show us moderators and your neighbors some love by giving them a follow as well. And what we would like you to do, as I mentioned earlier, not only share it in the Clubhouse hallways, but on your social media apps as well. And don't just share it once. Share it as many times as you can until you get the red bar that says you can't share anymore, but you really can't. You just need to wait 5 minutes, and then you can start sharing again. We so appreciate it when you do that because we want to affect as many lives as possible. And we also love having you join in the conversation. You can do that in the chat, or if you're so inclined, to raise your hand and we'll bring you out to the stage and join in the conversation that way as well. And the last thing I would like to remind you of is the thoughts and opinions that we are sharing are our own. We're not telling you what to do, we're telling you what we do and hope that you gain some nuggets of value from them. And with that, I will release the mic back to Tina.
Thank you. All righty, guys. So there's 14 of us in this space. Thank you, each and every one of you, for sharing the room out. But I want to get to at least, I'm going to say 19 shares before we continue, just because I know there's a lot going on in these Clubhouse streets and we want to keep the flow of energy going. So if each of us can just do one more share to get it going, I would really appreciate it because people don't really know what's going on if you don't share the room out there. So it looks like we're at 15 shares. Thank you. And for everyone watching on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, thank you for coming through. As you know, we're here Monday through Thursday just to inspire and motivate you. 15 shares. I need 3 more shares, which means I need 3 people to reach down and press that button. And when you see the scissors there, guys, the scissors let you chop the last 30 seconds. Okay, look like we hit our number. The next boundary is emotional boundaries, guys. And when you share your feelings, it's reasonable to expect others to support you as well. Now, some examples of emotional boundary violations. That's what we're going to start with. How are people violating? And then how can you not be? Oh, yeah, it is still on. Okay, I'm back. You guys are like, what is she talking about? If you click the link at the top, you'll see me on YouTube, and it blinked away for a second, but I'm back. So examples of emotional boundary violation: sharing too much too soon. So oversharing. If you're talking to someone, you ever see people like that and they're just talking and talking? It's like, okay, I don't need to hear all that. Sharing inappropriate emotional information with children. Another one is emotional dumping, excess venting. And sometimes people do need to vent, but write it down, journal it. We don't need to hear all that. Pushing someone to share information they aren't comfortable with sharing. And I do know that people need to let things out. Again, just ask permission. Would you like to share more? Does this make you feel better? Invalidating someone's feelings and telling people how they should feel. Well, you shouldn't feel sad. It's not that bad. It could be worse. That's another thing that's not too good. Pushing people to move past complicated feelings swiftly. So if someone's sad, if someone's mad, well, just get over it. No, let them feel their feelings. I always say, get in those feelings. You got to feel the feels, and then you're able to move on. And there's no time limit. For myself, you guys know, if you did not know, I had a major many traumas in my life. The biggest one was losing my son. My son was murdered almost 7 years ago. And I used to give myself personal time boundaries. In the beginning, I would cry for hours and hours, and I was just like, okay, Tina, you don't have time for this life. It's got, everyone moves on. And I would give myself a half an hour. I'm like, okay, in half an hour, you got to stop crying. And trust me, guys, crying intensely can be so tiring. And then it got to the point I was like, okay, 15 minutes. I would set a timer and say for 15 minutes, that's all I'm giving myself to cry. And then I would say 5 minutes. And what I had in my phone was I had a folder of all pictures of my son. He was 21 when he was murdered. He had his own sneaker boutique store. He was extremely successful. So I had many, many photos. And for 5 minutes, I would swipe through the pictures and just cry, cry, cry. I'm like, okay, that's it. That's something I used to do. I'm not saying it was right. I'm not saying it was wrong. But it's something that I did that actually worked for me. So no one told me to do that. I just kind of came up with that on my own. And I shared that with my daughter, and she did it. Another thing, pushing people to move past complicated, I said this already, gossiping about personal details in another person's life. Gossip, I just hate gossip. And I feel when you're having a conversation with someone, it's a difference between gossiping, a difference with venting, and a difference with having a conversation about facts. So, I had a conversation the other day with someone, and she's like, I'm not gossiping, Tina, I want to get this off my chest. And it was the truth. I'm like, girl, we are not gossiping. We're just having a conversation, and we're stating facts. This is the fact of the situation. This is the fact of how this person is. So don't feel bad if you're having a conversation with something. Now, how you can set boundaries when someone oversteps them like that. So you can say something, when I share things with you, I expect you to keep them confidential. And for me, if I say something behind your back, I'm going to say it in front of your back. I'm not that person that's going to say, oh, well, don't say that I said this. When I hear people say that, first of all, I'm like, okay, it's a lie. I don't trust what you have to say. And another thing I go by with life is, I keep seeing the red bar, I'm hoping you can hear me, is I believe half of what I see and none of what I hear. Because the way you see a situation can be totally different, especially when it comes to social media. You see things on there, you can see two people hugging and you think they're in a relationship, and they could just be cousins or people haven't seen each other. So that's something you can do. You can also say, I feel uncomfortable sharing my feelings. I would feel better if you acknowledge what I'm saying with a nod. And for me, sometimes I don't like sharing. I just don't say anything. And perhaps I should just say that. I don't feel comfortable sharing because it makes the person think that you don't care about them or you're just not trusting them. Another thing you can say is, I hear that you have a lot of things going on. I don't feel equipped to help you. Have you considered talking to a therapist? And again, some people, that's a good one there, but sometimes you might want to say, do you want me to reply? Do you want my opinion, or you just want me to listen? That's another thing I say with someone as I'm talking to them when they're venting, because sometimes they're just venting just to vent. Another thing you can say is, I don't feel comfortable talking about that topic. And, sometimes I felt it when I've had a conversation with someone and I said something and the person was kind of like turned off by it and I felt horrible. So another thing you can say is, it isn't okay for you to tell me how I should feel. My feelings are valid. Again, sometimes people don't know. I said something to my daughter once, like, you should do this. She says, Mom, you really shouldn't tell a person what they should do. It's my opinion. It's how I feel. Everyone has their own choice. Another thing you can say is, I will take my time processing my feelings. Don't rush me to move on. Oh my gosh, something that someone said to me years ago was like, yes, I understand you're upset about your son. How long are you going to be upset? How long are you going to be sad? Like, are you freaking serious? How long am I going to be upset? So, tell the person they don't have to rush you. And lastly, something you can say is, it's okay for me to feel how I feel in any situation. Guys, I'm getting my tips and information today from a book called Setting Boundaries, Finding Peace. It's a guide to reclaiming yourself by Nedra Glover Tawad. If you click the link at the top here, you can see me on YouTube, and please subscribe. All right, open the mics. Let me hear. I see Mary Kim over there. Let's hear your thoughts on the topic.
I love everything that you shared. I run a resiliency and recovery room twice on Clubhouse during the week, and a lot of people share their heart, share their story, share their journey, and there's triggered, they're through different adversities in their life, and we get a lot of times where people say, well, I should not feel this way. I should not think that I should have these thoughts because I just heard so-and-so share their life journey. And it's so important to continue to remind people that your feelings are valid. Whether you're debating whether you should feel a certain way or not, they are valid. They're not for anyone else to decide how you're feeling or what you're going through. And just own it. And I say that because there was a period of my time that I did not validate my feelings. I kind of just crushed them down. I didn't really, lean into them, and I just carried on with life because that's what I learned how to do. At the age of 12, when life hit the fan, we just carry on and we don't talk about things and we don't discuss feelings. But thank God I love to write on a piece of paper. But with that said, when I discovered that I need to be living in my feelings, honoring that space that I am in, it started to serve me better mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So I love that and everything else that you shared today. It's crucial. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Nakshara over there with the hearts. What you got to say, Mama? And Mike.
I think you just nailed it already. I don't have anything further to say.
Love it. Love it. Anyone else want to share their thoughts on emotional boundaries? Go for it, Soul.
Stars, let me know if you can hear me.
Yep, we hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so just tapping in real quick in regards to emotional boundaries. I was always that friend that I was the fixer, the cheerleader, so I would pretty much just sit there and tell you, no, just deal with it, get over it, which was the wrong approach until I learned how to listen better. So now I hold that space for my friends whenever it is that they are dealing with emotional distress. So I echo what Mary was saying and what you were sharing as well. So definitely allowing people, to sit in their feelings, acknowledge them, and then how can I help you? Let me know when you're ready for me to help you if you want my help. And if my help is just sitting there and listening, that's what I do for them. That's my share for now. Thank you.
I like that. Now, were they coming to you like saying, I need your advice, or were you just giving your advice?
Oh no, all the time they were coming to me. They were like, Soul, I need to talk, and then when they would share, I would be like, well, so this is what you need to do. Blah, blah, blah. And sometimes when they ask for advice is one thing, but a lot of times I also jumped in the box. I was like, well, when this happened to me, this is what I did. And I realize now that sometimes you just want to vent. And when people ask you for advice, just wait. Just wait for them to ask you for advice or even tap in. May I share something? Yes or no? So that's pretty much just hold the space for those people around you. And it's all about holding that space for them.
I like that.
I
I love it. My takeaway from that, guys, is holding space for the people around you. And sometimes I believe, I'm not saying I hate, but when someone asks you, well, what should I do? And then my daughter does this all the time. I'm like, girl, why are you asking me? Because deep down, we already know what we want to do. We already know what we're going to do. We're just asking for validation from someone else. Did anyone else want to share on the topic? I saw you came up, Amanda. Hey, girl, hey. If you want to add into that topic on mic.
I'm actually just listening for now. Thank you.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, guys. So today we're talking about the 6 boundaries, 6 different types of boundaries to finding peace in your life. The very first one was physical boundaries. We gave examples on how you can get through those: sexual, intellectual, emotional, and we're moving forward to material boundaries. And with material boundaries, this has to do with your possessions. Your stuff is your stuff. And when I say having boundaries, for example, using things longer than agreed. If you gave someone a dress, and sometimes you even give them a time, maybe you should be more specific, and then it'll clear that problem right there. Never returning a borrowed item. Ladies, how many times this happened? It's like, where did that dress go? Where did that shirt go? You gave it to someone and they never gave it back. Loaning borrowed items to others without permission. It's like, if you let me borrow a book and then I gave it to somebody else, it's not my book to lend out. How are you doing that? That's violating someone's material boundary. Also, demanding a possession and refusing to pay for it. This can be with clothes, food, business, so important. Another one, returning possessions in poor conditions. How many times have you done this? You got something, maybe clothing, food, books, and it's like ripped up and dirty. Just like, are you serious? I think that's just rude. That's just totally rude. I've never done that. Now, a way you can set boundaries with this is, I will loan you money, but I expect the full amount back by such and such date. Setting it up ahead of time. And let's just say you are that person and you agree to this and you know that you don't have it. Well, say something to the person, I know I said I'd give it to you on Friday, but I don't have it. And, even though it's not an excuse, you're just making the facts there. Another thing, I can't loan you my car this weekend. Just being clear to the point. And I understand sometimes it's hard to just say these things out. Another thing you can say, be sure to return my tool in good condition. I think just the more specific we are in life with everything, what we expect from people, because people can't read minds, right? Tell them, well, I expect to be treated this way. I expect you to talk to me this way. I expect whatever it is. You can borrow my suit, but if you stain it, you'll have to pay for dry cleaning. Those are different examples of how you can set boundaries when it comes to materials. And another thing, do not loan things to people who've demonstrated in the past that they don't respect your stuff. If they've showed you stuff, it's going to be the exact same thing. And like I said before, just share your expectations of what you expect for people when it comes with those things. Anyone want to share on this topic of material boundaries, just setting those for you? If so, on mic. Otherwise, we're going to the next one, which is time boundaries. And hopefully someone's writing these. Let me check the chat, see if anything wrote anything. These boundaries are very important. Thank you. Hi, Haj. When you're a child of a narcissist, emotional boundaries are compromised. There's an absence of trust from gaslighting. Yes. Love it. Hi, Maurice. Okay, so we're continuing with setting boundaries, finding peace. Did I see someone on mic wanting to share on that particular topic? Okay.
You in me earlier, it was just a little thing that reminded me of, there's certain things I'm pretty giving and I share my things, but I do set boundaries. There are certain things that I will show you, I will give you copies, but I will not give you them. And the example that came to my mind are like my dad's civil rights books, the original copies. I will not let those out of my possession because they can't be replaced. So that's an example.
Thank you. So guys, we're getting towards the end of the topic. We were talking about boundaries. The first type is physical boundaries. After that, we spoke about sexual, intellectual, emotional, material, and the next one is time. Holy crappers, this one right here, I heard something this morning where someone said time is the biggest commodity, so important. And then they said, no, it's energy. Energy is more important than time because if I'm giving you my energy, that's a lot, guys. Like this room, this space, anything I do actually takes my energy. And I'm that type of person. If I'm not at a 10 or close to a 10, energy wise, emotionally wise, I don't like to show up because I don't want to be around people that are just blah. So I don't like to show up if I'm feeling blah. So there's 6 areas listed that we went through. Time is the boundary area that people tend to struggle with the most. Again, I'm getting this information from the book from Nedra Glover Tawwab. And time boundaries consist of how you manage your time, how you allow others to use your time, how you deal with favor requests, and how you secure your free time. Now with this, as a personal trainer, as a coach, as an instructor, recently I've set certain boundaries. For example, I actually wrote it on my board. I was like, I stop working Fridays at 3 p.m. Every day I stop working at 7 p.m. I have to set these boundaries, and I actually have to write it down for myself because for me, work doesn't really feel like work. It just feels good to me. So people will take advantage of your boundaries. For me, when it comes to our classes, we give a 5-minute grace period. If you don't show up, it's over. You're not coming through. And when people realize that they have to respect your time, they will show up. I don't know if it was from being in pageants back in the day when I was a kid, but they said when you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. When you're on time, you're late. And when you're late, you're left. Okay? Everything that I do, I want it to be an experience. And if you're showing up late, you're just discombobulated. It's like, what's going on? So some examples of how we violate time boundaries and how they are violated by others is calling multiple times in a row for non-emergencies. Like you have a situation, you just keep calling and nagging and nagging and nagging. It can wait. Take your, respect that person. Expecting someone to drop everything in order to provide help for you. All right? Just not that. I think that's just selfish. Another example, calling or sending text messages late when the recipient is sleeping. I laugh at this because I'll get text messages at like 8, 9 o'clock and I'm like, do they really think I'm going to reply? Because I shut it down like 8, 9 o'clock. It's not happening. Asking others to do things for free. It's in my field, I get that a lot. It's like because I do personal training and coaching and all that sort of stuff. Well, family does this all the time. Well, Tina, I want to lose weight. I want to do this. Okay, so this is my cost. This is my fee. It may seem like it's nothing, but I put a lot of time, energy, and money into everything that I'm doing, all the certifications, all the training. So overcommitting yourself. I used to do this all the time. It was very challenging for me to say no because I wanted to show up and I wanted to support others. And sometimes you have to say no. Sometimes you have to allow other people to say no or to step away. And, I'm going to give a great example. My good friend, Shelly, Shelly came into this space. She was just, she started out just listening. And every now and again she would speak. And then she started taking over Wednesdays. And we had the conversation for months. And, she's like, Shelly's really into real estate. She's really not into fitness. And it's like she was trying to change things around. I was like, Shelly, you do not have to stay in this space, hon. But I think she felt obligated. And I was like, no, many times I told her, so just giving yourself a little bit of grace when it comes to your time boundaries. You cannot be everywhere in these freaking clubhouse streets. Hello. Now, if it was COVID and we didn't have anything to do, I get it. You're in every single room. I remember there was a space that I had began with, and I was like, you know what? This is too much for me. You cannot be effective all over the place. Yes, you can be all over the place, but it's going to be a hot mess. I want to show up 100% with my energy, with my vision, with everything. So just not overcommitting yourself, and it's not a good thing. So that's one thing right there that I've definitely learned to step back from. By the way, hey VA, hi there, Chris. Guys, Chris took yoga with me this morning. That felt so good. Okay, another example. Oh my gosh, this one is one of my biggest pet peeves. Having long conversation with emotionally draining people. I am that person. I gotta go. I'll call you back. If someone's just talking and nagging and complaining and whining, that's a time waster. No. Requesting favors at a time when it's clear the other person isn't available. So if the person has told you that they can't do something, they're not able to do something, we'll respect that boundary right there. Another boundary, asking someone to stay late at work for no additional pay. And people will do this. And I find this with clients, will show up 10 minutes late expecting me to go over 10 minutes. No, this is the time frame. I like to give, now, mind you guys, right after my son, I would schedule my day by the minute. I gave myself no space. So if my class was over at 8 o'clock, I made sure I had another class, another appointment right after that because I didn't want that space. Now, I don't know if it's because I'm older or I just want a little more space. I give myself 15 minutes, sometimes a half an hour grace time between my appointments because I don't want to be staggered all over the place. So important. All right, the last one. Accepting favor requests from people who won't reciprocate. So those are some examples. Now, how do you set these boundaries? Here's goes. I'm unable to stay late at work today. Just say, I can't do it. And guys, you don't have to give an excuse. You don't have to say why. I mean, you can if you want to, but you don't have to. I work from 9 to 5, so I'm not available to chat throughout the day. And that's important. And I think sometimes what happens is we don't tell people, well, I'm available here, and they just kind of bombard, and then they get upset. Like, hello, someone called me the other day at 6:20 in the morning. Hello, every single morning between like 5 and 7:30. Sometimes I'm teaching. I'm in my zone of classes and people and that sort of thing. So why are you calling me? Maybe you don't know, but if you let people know, then they won't. Another thing you can say is, I can't help you this weekend. I can't help with your taxes, but my fee is X amount of dollars. Telling people I won't be able to make it to your event. Just being that clear. So that's how you can set some boundaries and some ways that you can honor it. Pretty much before you say yes to a request, check your calendar to make sure you're not overcommitting. And don't try to squeeze in another event or task and so you don't upset someone. And that's something that I currently do now. It's my goal is to say no 3 times before I say yes, or let me get back to you. I try not to give an answer right away because, again, I don't want to overcommit myself. I used to always double book myself, guys. I can't tell you how many times I was like, I'd have one appointment and then on my phone, I'll see an alert. Oh, you have a club. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot. Because I overbooked myself because I wanted to make it easier for that person. I wanted to make myself accessible for that person. Another thing, when you're busy, allow calls to go to voicemail and text or emails to go unread. So my phone is constantly going off. First of all, my ringer is always on vibrate. I never have the ringer on unless I'm expecting a phone call. I'll text. I used to be that person. I say my phone is my third hand. You know, it's like it's there all the time. Now I'm setting boundaries where I actually put my phone away, out of sight, so I have that free time. And in a wonderful world, I'd only check it 3 times a day. For messages and things like that. I wish I could. That's my goal. But those are some tips that I have for that right there. If anyone would like to share their thoughts on that, I would love to hear. Time boundaries. How do you deal with time boundaries, Mary Kim, or anyone else that would like to share? Let me hear you. Just unmic and go for it.
Well, for me, with the time boundaries, I'm working on that as well. I had a habit, even when I know I'm unable or mostly unable to do something, I would still try to satisfy that other person that's helping, that asks me to help. So setting up time boundaries, it's a work in progress. So I just love it, Tina. I love what you were just saying. I'm working on that now.
Love it. And hearing you say that, I think if we go into a position of power, I'm going to control my time boundaries. I like that right there. I see my VA girl up here. Whoever wants to speak, unmic, next, go for it. Say your name and share your comment. Would love to hear from you. How you deal with time boundaries. Who's going next?
Good morning. Hi, I'm Miss Hattie, Tina's mom. Well, I recently had to actually write everything down for my morning. My morning starts at I had to move it to 3 o'clock in the morning to get everything in. And the 3 o'clock movement was to get my personal time in so I could stretch and whatever I had to do. because I have to do the clubhouse, then I have to do Tina, the workout, and then I have 2 little girls I have to get ready for school. One has to be school by 7:45, and it's a 30-minute drive, and the other one has to be school 8 o'clock, and she's 5 minutes from my house. So I just got back home, and I think it went pretty good. I had to move the time around, so we were actually out of the house at 5 minutes to 7 this morning, and it was dark, and the girls were looking at me like I had 2 heads. But the schedule worked for me, and that's what counts, because now I have free time, and I get to take my time and go to my walk and my workout, whatever I want to do. So thank you. And
You're not going yet. You're not going yet. Hold on. So, nope, you're not done yet. First of all, I want to say I'm super proud of you for finding a solution for yourself. Would you say that actually, excuse me, every morning I'm sneezing. Excuse me, I don't know what it is. Would you say that the act of actually writing down what you had to do, did that help you, or was it, and if not, then what? Excuse me.
Most definitely. It was a combination of the writing it down on my calendar and setting an alarm, a basic alarm, because I had a certain time that I had to, after I did my workout, get my shower and then be able to get the kids ready. And getting a 4 and a 5-year-old or 6-year-old up at 6 o'clock in the morning is not easy to do unless you promise them they could watch TV. So that's how I got away this morning.
I love it. Well, I'm very proud of you for setting some boundaries, because I know you used to be flip-floppity with some stuff. Some stuff you were very stringent. So very, very proud of you. Shahati, thank you for coming up. Thank you for coming to this space. Investor in the people. I have an environment, time, talent, treasures, and prayers. Would you like to share your thoughts on the conversation? If so, just unmic.
Yes, good morning, Tina. Thank you so much for welcoming me here on stage. I didn't, when I joined, I'm in the car on my way to work. I maybe 3 out of the 6 boundaries. Maybe once I park, I can look in the chat. But what I did here, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. I wanted to share and then also ask a question. I'm in my mid-30s, and I help lead a team. And I'm really impressed by, I'm a millennial, so the generation below me is a Generation Z. They are better enforcers of boundaries. That is a buzzword for them that I knew about it, but in practice, I didn't know what it was about, right? And they've opened my eyes, because I've been receiving their boundaries, right? And I'm like, oh, wow, that's bold. Oh, wow, they're really going to do that. We work in a highly competitive finance company. Because it gives me permission, yes, I can also enforce boundaries. And as a collective, if we all, from the top to bottom to the top, have boundaries, then we all thrive together. So my question is, we communicate effectively boundaries without being so, I don't know the words and phrases I want to say, but sometimes, like, to hear someone enforce their boundary, it comes off like very off-putting. And so I want to be mindful in terms of how it's being delivered and how it's being received. If you have any thoughts on that, I would
Yes. So guys, if you didn't hear her question is, how can you set boundaries? And I think what you were trying to say is, would you say being rude? Is that what you would say? You don't want to be rude?
Yeah, I feel like it can come off like to my subordinate, sometimes rude, right? Like, and then I love how you mentioned, and I'm just riffing here, one of my colleagues, and she's really sweet, really respectful, and she was like, oh, I can't stay late today, even though we were working on something, and it was just between technology, learning, and mistakes, etc., probably combined was in it. And I was like, oh my, really need to get this done. Put in overtime. I'm just like, let's go. And she did say, but other days she's, did courses that, yeah, and I don't have any problem with that. But the thing, there's another colleague of mine who is more vocal, like, no, I don't feel like, no, I'm not going to do this or not going to do that. And I'm just like, oh, wow, great. Glad you have the performance, the currency, but then you can deplete that really fast with being so abrupt with the boundary. So that's where the angle I'm coming from.
Totally get it. Totally get it. Let me give an example. I will share them again. Sorry if you missed me. My phone rang. I am back. So yes, if you guys didn't hear, she was asking, how can you set boundaries? What can you say to not sound so rude or abrupt? And I totally get it. And I agree with you 1,000% how you said those Gen Zers, they've got their boundaries set and they don't let anyone get in the way of that. And something else you said about that really touched me is when people show you their boundaries, when they give you their boundaries, at least for me, it gives me permission to feel more confident with mine. And for example, I remember I wanted to get my hair done and they're like, well, I don't work on Mondays. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, don't you want to make money? Well, they set the boundary that they want to live their life a certain sort of way and they don't want to work on Mondays. So I like that, how they do that. And you're so true with that. So some examples of how to set your boundaries without sounding so rude. Renee had said something earlier. She's not able to speak, and I hope someone can remember what she said. It was really good. But I like to do the FFF formula sometimes. I know how you feel. I felt the same way, but what I found. And when it comes to, let's say, staying late for work, I know that you need me to stay late for work, but I feel that I'm not able to do this, feel, felt, found. But what I found is when I stay late, it makes me late coming home. And I have to, again, you don't have to explain yourself to people. But for me, sometimes I feel the need to, because again, I don't want to sound so rude. That's one thing that I can do. Or you can just be super simple. They say, I'm unable to stay late. Another thing that I wanted to say is I don't feel comfortable. You can just kind of be honest with what you're feeling at that particular moment in time. Something that Renee had said, I'm going to try to get it out. If anyone remembers what she said when we were talking about boundaries, unmic and say it. She's not able to speak, so she can't remind us of it. I'm closing my eyes so the thought will come back. It was really good. I actually clipped it.
Don't. I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
Or can you calm down or I can understand? Hey, Renee, come off my podcast.
Okay, I clipped it. Actually, what she says is, I hear what you're saying. Oh gosh, yeah, I thought I could say it. Nikshara, do you remember? I see you giving a heart. Do you remember what she said? Probably.
No, I wish I did because that was really good. I agree with you.
I made her.
I think it was more in line of I hear what you're saying, and not dismissing what they were saying, but this is how I also feel. It was something to that effect. I hear what you're saying. Now this is how I feel, or more or less like, okay, it was more of like, put yourself in my shoes. I understand what you're saying now. This is how I'm feeling. Something to that effect.
I think I just remember the last part. So I think she said, do you want to consider that I have a different opinion than you? Do you want to consider my position in this?
Yes, we got it with the two of you. That's why I clipped it, because I knew it was good. And I love that. Like, you're at work and there's deadlines, there's things to be done. And I wish she could speak on this topic because Renee does this a lot in her work. It'll be Sunday night at 7 p.m. and she's like, we have a deadline. I'm like, isn't it over because one person left and didn't do the job? So that's one way. Does that help at all, Shahadi? You sound a little distant. Can you speak louder?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
A little better.
I guess what you all said. from woman, not to bring the gender, but yes, bring the gender into this, like woman to woman, if we bring some expectations, right? We're the nurturers. I think that's why boundaries get easily blurred. Whether it's female or male interaction, especially if it's a boss subordinate, right? And it's interesting. I appreciate that word. I'm not comfortable. But once someone says that word, it's not threatening, but it is a signal that, hey, you've invaded my safe space. That's the word boundary. Like that word, yes, but it sounds so like, whoa. But then when you say it in another word, like my safe space, right? Then, and say the word, I'm not, and you're giving me an idea. Like, I feel like every now and then I'm in an uncomfortable position. Like, women confide in me, right? And then the male bosses are like, well, what do they say? And I'm just like, I don't know what boundary I want to say. You're giving me some tools and ideas, like, I am uncomfortable speaking of this. And then, that's another topic that we can explore, but back to the first one, yeah, it's, the boundaries of, I can't say right now, just calling not a subordinate person, a boss and whatnot, just say I can't do this or I can't work on this, but giving it an alternative. Okay, maybe that's where I want to go with this. Giving an alternative, like, hey, not, leaving them hanging with, I can't do this. It needs to, it's me. It's, hey, what can I give back? Why don't we put some time on the calendar tomorrow? Or, but whatever, fill in the blank. But then not leave them hanging like, yeah, I need some help. You're like, oh, I got it found. I like, my kids at home. My husband, like, is expecting me. Yeah, those are my thoughts. It's two different ones, but I hope you there.
I love it. And I'm adding 3 more things to what you just said, because I love how you said that. First of all, I want to say acknowledge what they're saying. And sometimes I think in life we don't do that. So acknowledging, I hear you and I understand that you need extra help. I understand that this project is due, but my time is valuable. And then, like you said, finding a solution. Perhaps tomorrow we can schedule something between X and X amount of time. I can shorten my lunch or something. So it doesn't seem as if you're pushing the person off like you don't care. I care. I really want to help you, but my time is valuable and I want to spend time with my family. So I think we all got answered together. How does that sound?
I love it. You know what I've been doing lately, Tina, is me doing what I'm doing lately, sharing my story, breaking that, you're not the only one doing, gone through X, Y, and Z, whatever. I have family that are not comfortable with it, and I'm okay with it. But what I've been saying to them lately is, I understand where you are at. I'm not devaluing your feelings and how you feel about it. Here are some suggestions that you could say to your people. That's my sister's story. You need to talk to her. I'm not ready to talk about that. And I always something like, listen, I'm not devaluing how you feel. I'm not saying that your feelings are invalid, but this is where I am at. And this is my journey. This is my story. This is me. It has nothing to do with you. But their comeback is like, because it's my story, it's their story. So no, my story is my story. And so, but I always say, I'm validating their feelings, and that sometimes helps, and sometimes doesn't, but that's just another layer that can be added depending on who you're talking to.
Love it, love it. And I'm hoping this lady who came into the room can give her final thoughts. And this is a great way to end the room, guys. If you're just coming in here, this is your 8 a.m. cup of motivation. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you that come through. We're here Monday through Thursday, bringing you motivation, inspiration, all the tools, skills, and strategies to make all your dreams come true when it comes to nutrition, finances. Today, we're talking about setting boundaries. The book that I'm referencing is Set Boundaries, Find Peace, a guide to reclaiming yourself, and it's by Nedra Glover Tawwab. Click the link at the top. You'll see me on YouTube. Health. We're ending the discussion on boundaries, and I'll share the 6 boundaries that we spoke about. We gave examples of each boundary, how someone can invade your boundary, and then we came up with some things to say to support yourself. So the 6 boundaries we spoke about were physical, sexual, intellectual, emotional, material, and then time. All these different types of boundaries. If you would like to share your thoughts and concerns, guys, get ready for a drop mic because this girl goes hard. Health, are you able to share your thoughts on boundaries, how you overcome them, any tips, advice, or strategies? If you can, on mic, go for it.
I need help, so I need that book that you just mentioned. That's what I'm so happy I got pinged in. I was like, oh, this is the one area, Tina, that is truly a struggle with time boundaries. I'm experiencing that right now at work. So I am totally open to any advice, any tips or strategies. I need them with this topic. Thank you so much.
Love it, love it. Well, it's crazy because we actually, between the entire stage, Shahadi that was her question. She was saying at work, if you're at work and there's a situation and they want you to stay later, how do you say something without sounding rude or mean? And we finally came up with a good answer. And we were saying, first, validate the person, agree with them. I hear you. I understand that you need extra help, but my time is valuable. Perhaps come up with a solution tomorrow during lunchtime. So you want to validate the person, you hear them, you're connecting with them, you're not pushing them off, you're not being rude. She also expressed how Gen Zers, I hope I said that correct, how now with their time, and anyone knows a Gen Zer, they are not messing with, and I don't know where they get this from. I love it though, I love it. It makes me value my time. It makes value my money, what I'm asking for. It just goes all around. Guys, this book is amazing. The beginning of the book talks about the different types of people, ones that have porous boundaries where you just kind of let people just run all over you, those that are too strict. But it's a really good book. I love it. The woman's a black lady, a licensed therapist, sought after relationship expert. She's amazing. That's it on today's topic. Plus, I got to go to the bathroom. With that being said, we're back here on Monday, but don't forget Saturdays, we have the amazing Mental Health Awakenings room, which you'll love, 11 a.m., run by Kathy and Cynthia. Thank you all for coming through. Wendy, Chris, the Self Haven. Thank you all for coming through. I am Stars Tina, and we are the 8 a.m. Cup of Motivation. We are out of here. Anyone want to say anything before we go? If so, on mic. Otherwise, see you guys Monday, 7:55 a.m. Ciao, ciao. Yay. I like that. You matter. Bye-bye. See ya. Alrighty. So yesterday I forgot to end it. Let me end it.